Along with Katie. Katie, would you wave your arm, please? He's back there talking by the buttons, which he has wonderfully arranged by alphabetical order. Thank you very much. So that's Katie, and she will be here in just a minute. We're going to be waiting for our speaker, who has not acknowledged yet that he is coming. So we are, as of this morning, as of 20 minutes ago, we did not know if we had a speaker today. You know, if we have an hour or two, we can do that. You know, we can make arrangements for something else, but Katie will bring us to that. So, I want to bring you to an abortion rights thing that is supposed to be happening today at noontime. It's an abortion rights. Protesters are trying to stop a wave of anti-abortion laws and plan to flood state houses, town squares, and courthouses today. And guess what hour? Noon. So guys, you missed it, but you may not. Yeah.
I got 2 or 3 things from other states. There seems to be, are you sure there's anything actually being done in Cincinnati?
Yeah. Katie, is there something being done in Cincinnati? Yeah. And where is it?
Garfield Park.
Garfield Park, downtown. I want you to know that I have been down to that 3 times, and the last time I finally found a parking space. I did.
When?
It's a noon time today. So enjoy your lunch, folks. Eat it fast, because we may be, Katie will be taking us to the next step, and we may adjourn to go to Garfield Place. Rallies will take place at noon local time. Across the country, we're seeing a new wave of extreme bans on abortion, stripping away reproductive freedom, and representing an all-out assault on abortion access. I personally believe that you ought to be able to believe whatever you want to believe and still belong to the Democratic Party and vote Democratic. I personally do not care what you believe in terms of when a person becomes alive. I'm Jewish, it's not hard. But because I'm Jewish, it happens when the baby is born. And in traditional Jewish families, they are not allowed to receive gifts for the baby before the baby's born, because the baby is not there yet. Then you have a bris and a big celebration, and then you get all the gifts and stuff after the baby is born, because when the baby is born, that's when the baby is alive. So that's the tradition I come from. I'm going to respect anybody else who feels anywhere else, but I still want those people to vote with me against some other kinds of problems that we're having with the electorate. Okay, I want to mention a couple of things. One of the things I want to mention is that I advertised at the last meeting that I needed somebody to help me with a naturalization ceremony, and it happened. And we had a wonderful naturalization ceremony out at St. Veronica's, where there were 66 people being naturalized, and we got 65 of them registered to vote. Just want to know that the 66 person always is a mystery to us. I think in that case it was like somebody's great-grandmother who didn't speak English and couldn't speak English and wasn't. That this has been happening more and more as Trump gets further and further into office, where people are afraid that their elderly relatives and mothers and great aunts that they brought over with our old immigration policy, they are not being able to register to vote because somebody wasn't there to fill it out for them. And I'm not gonna push on that. There were 33 languages, let me tell you, that were represented on last Friday, and I was not going to go and push the 66 person to vote. You know, I have probably done this 20 times, and only once have I gotten everybody to register to vote. Only once out of 20 times. because there are these other issues that come up. I'm going to be moving, I'm in the military, we're moving to somewhere, I'm going to Japan, I'll be there for the next 3 years, you know, whatever it is, there's always an excuse for that 1 or 2 people, but 65, come on. I mean, I've done this like 10 times since the school year, or no, since it's turned to 2019, and that's still registering a whole bunch of people to vote. Okay, so at this point, we are going to be making announcements. And we have another microphone. Okay. Here we go.
David.
I'd like for you all to pay attention to our schedule. On June 11th, we have the Ohio Students with Gun Control. Ethan Nichols will be here. I would like for you to consider inviting your young friends. If you have children, grandchildren that are high school age, junior high, high school age, I'd like for you to invite them to come to that, because Ethan has been working extremely hard, and I'm just very impressed with what these young people are doing. He's leading in Ohio like the folks did in Florida. And so therefore, I would like for you to invite your kids to come along so they can get themselves involved in this process. So June 11th, bring your grands along for lunch.
And many schools are already out by then. I want to just mention that on June 11th, that's the evening which I am inviting you to an evening concert at Blue Ash, and that's behind the recreation center there. And come at 5 o'clock with your own supper, and bring a little extra bag of potato chips or something to share with the whole group. And we will, it's very kid-friendly, very kid-friendly. There's a small children's playground immediately adjacent to our shelter, and there's a restroom right there. And if you do not have a folding chair, you can just stay there for the whole evening and keep your own seat and have a wonderful evening listening to the concert of the Sycamore Band, which my other brother, you know that Stanley is my one brother, and my other brother, who says he's the other brother. Of course, they do this comedy routine. No, I'm the other brother. No, I'm the other brother. No, I'm the other brother. Well, the one that's not Stanley plays timpani. He is a fabulous percussionist. You need to watch him. He's really great. Come on June 11th in the evening and come for that. Okay, other announcements?
Barbara Wolf is here to speak for Cam Harding.
We have a speaker. Oh, yes! We have a speaker. We have other
We have an
announcements.
announcement right here.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Craig.
Hi, Craig Rosen. 2 things. First, or 3 things. First, just keep in mind, June 20th, Vice Mayor Smitherman is having his property tax working group. They have monthly meetings. The next meeting is June 20th. I think most know about it, but it's at 9 a.m. At 2 Centennial, which is down on Center behind City Hall. It's on the 2nd floor. It's important that our voices are heard, so I hope people can show up and join the conversation. Also, Cincinnati City Council is having their public engagement on budget hearings. If you go to the city's budget website, I believe it is May 29th, and then June 2nd and 3rd throughout the city, where they'll have different sites where you can go and have your voices heard about what's important to you, whether it's a core service or not for our city budget. And then lastly, as most know about petitions, Eve Bolton has requested to people to sign her petition. Again, you're not voting for her or against her, you're just allowing the democratic process to work, and so I'll pass that around. Please sign it.
What's the topic of the 20th?
The 20th is property tax. So they talk about abatements, community reinvestment areas, TIFs, things of that nature. So this is, I believe, the 5th meeting. And if you go to Google and just type in Cincinnati Property Tax Working Group. It'll bring up the Vice Mayor's page that lists not just when the agenda, when the next meeting is in the agenda, but all the previous minutes and community comments, which is pretty interesting if you read it. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. You know to make out your little card there.
I got them right
Yeah,
here. I will.
yes, so Peter wants you to make out something so that he can have something in for the newsletter. Okay, go for it.
Elizabeth Holtzapfel. So the KKK is having another rally, this time in Dayton, Ohio, at the old courthouse. This is this Saturday, May 25th, from 12 to 3, 21 North Main Street. I'll be there with some other folks. I hope some of you can join us.
Make sure that you have a
I heard that
card.
they're announcing they'll be armed.
Yes.
I think people should know that.
People should know that they are going to be armed. Please make out your card for Peter.
So along the lines of budget cuts,
I'll go, Peter.
we've had Larry Falcon here from the Director of the Office of Environment and Sustainability talking to us. Larry's job is one of the ones that has been cut, which is insane because the OES generates a lot more money than it costs to pay his salary in grants, $25 million, for instance. They also create a lot more energy savings, landfill savings, all kinds of things that more than pay for his job. So it's clearly not economics, it's somehow political. Along those lines, the budget also cut the Greater Cincinnati Energy Coalition. They cut the Urban Gardens program. They cut Keep Cincinnati Beautiful. The mayor has
They cut Cincinnati Beautiful?
the mayor has reinstated Keep Cincinnati Beautiful and the Energy Coalition, but still Urban Gardens and Larry Falcon's
Urban Gardens is
position
good.
as OES director are gone. There's been some speculation that there was a little sort of collusion between the city manager and the mayor in that more things were cut so that the mayor could have the privilege of looking like a savior to put them back into the budget.
That's the neighborhood.
And that's been true of a number of things. But I'm still very concerned about Larry Falcon losing his job because the difference that's made for the city of Cincinnati, there's no clear understanding of what would happen to the rest of the Office of Environment and Sustainability without its director. So I want to urge everybody to write letters. You can just use that one email site that goes to the mayor and every member of council with one push of the button. Encourage council to reinstate Larry Falcon, the director of the Office of Environment and Sustainability. Thank you.
I just want to follow up on that. Larry knew that he had to have a 14% cut in his office. So he chose to axe himself to save the rest of the people in his department. He feels that they can do the work. They've just gotten a huge Bloomberg grant that hopefully they will be able to reinstate Larry with that Bloomberg grant.
Well, I talked to him yesterday. That's not the information I have, but maybe that's the case. He didn't sound like he was falling on his sword. They offered him a position in Waterworks as some kind of a supervisory position, which is a cut in pay and obviously a cut in what he's capable of doing. And he said he'll take that rather than having to leave the city and look for another position. But that'd be great news if they, in the last 24 hours, they got a Bloomberg grant that might keep his position. F-A-L-K-I-N, Larry Falcon.
Do we have our speaker? Announcement.
My good friend Dr. Wolf, who is a fantastic photographer, you've probably seen her at many, many events, does all kinds of videography and long-time resident, constant bus rider, doesn't own a car, and I have great admiration for the time that it takes her to get places, but she does. So we want to thank her very much. We were expecting Cam Hardy, and she's substituting for him today. So welcome to Barbara.
do you do this? I've never done this before. How do you do this? How do you do this?
The two things go over the years and then.
Can you do it today?
Dan, you want to show her?
Yeah.
Hello? So she's up.
Just,
Under my chin?
no. Goes in the back, comes over the ears.
You will not, I won't let you.
I've never used one of these microphones. That's for people. Oh, I did people. That's not bullying. Wow. Okay, hello. I'm with the Better Bus Coalition, and I'm with them because I take the bus, that mentioned, and I take the bus because about 10 years ago, my husband and I were in Europe for 6 months. We were taking public transit everywhere, and our car was sitting here in Cincinnati at home, and all of a sudden one day, the woman that was staying in our house called and said, "Did your son-in-law come and get your car?" And we said, "I don't think so. Why?" "Well, it's gone." Well, it had been stolen. Well, we had been taking public transit, walking. We felt so strong and so healthy. We decided just to continue doing it. And so we've done it for the last 10 years, taking buses, etc. Well, I'm going to tell you, our public transit system is not as good as any public transit system we were in any country, in both Europe and Africa. We were in Northern Africa. So when I heard about the Better Bus Coalition, I said, oops, I got to join. No choices here. And by the way, we decided that our car being stolen was the best gift anyone ever gave us. Literally, literally. We meet the nicest people on the buses. We have the best conversations at the bus stops. It is just, you should try it. If you haven't tried it, try it. It's really worth it. Okay. One of the things, some of the things the Better Bus Coalition is doing is, we have a petition to raise funds. And I am not the best person to explain this, but if you would like to sign it, you can sign it. This is to raise, it's a tax increase to go strictly to the bus system to make it better. And I'll tell you, a lot of the buses are really out of, they're too old. They're not safe, really particularly safe anymore. I've been shocked at some of the things I've seen on the buses in terms of the age of the buses, and like a pole that you're supposed to hang on to is loose. Yeah, it's not a good thing. Things like that are bad. They are upgrading as fast as they can, but it's not very fast because it just doesn't, they don't have the money to really do it. So we really need to add some money to the system. And you all probably can read this better than I can, so I'll pass it around, and if you'd like to sign it, you may only sign it if you live in the city of Cincinnati. This is a city tax, not a county tax. And that you can sign on the other side. Uh-oh. Pardon me? No, it's an income tax. Thank you, earnings tax. Thank you very much, Jim.
Nothing to do with property, nothing to do with the streetcar.
Exactly, nothing to do with the streetcar. It will all go to the bus system. And again, it's that kind of language that you say, what are they talking about? We didn't write it. Someone wrote it for us. Okay.
What kind of tax is that?
It's an earnings tax, right?
Correct. There's only, if your income is strictly retirement income, it has nothing to do with that. It's not, it's the city earnings tax, not the income tax.
And there are no giveaways?
No giveaways, what do you mean by that?
You know, people who get away with not paying because they make...
Too much money? No, I don't think so.
Make
No, I don't think
$100,000
so.
a year, it'll cost you 58 cents a day.
There you go. Okay. What else has the Better Bus Coalition done? We have built some benches. You may have noticed them. Little blue benches sitting along the streets by bus stops. Oh, and the unfortunate thing is you can't really tell there's a bus stop there anymore because the signs look like parking signs or no parking signs. And they've taken away that orange stripe. The orange stripe used to be your sign, your signal. Ah, there's a bus stop. You gotta get there fast. And then you could get there and figure out where you want to go from there.
What was the point of that?
The orange stripe?
The point of taking it away?
Beats me.
Signs have the route numbers.
No, but they did before. They did before. They had signs there before as well, and there were route numbers on them. But I did ask that at a sort of meeting one day, and someone said to me, one of the men in charge said, "Oh, those stripes were just too retro." That was the reason I was given
So
for
they're
the
too
meeting.
retro for Metro, huh?
And also, a lot of the benches, they will move the bus stop, but the benches will stay where they were, and they're very heavy. They're cement and wood and have the ads on them and stuff. And they're actually not Metro buses. They are the advertisers' benches. I'm sorry, they're not the Metro benches. They're the advertisers' benches. So, yes.
Can you summarize this, because it's pretty long and complicated, and also...
My problem, too.
It suggests, it calls it an income tax, a levy on income. It doesn't say it's an earnings tax.
That's how they collect.
City income tax is an earnings tax.
Correct.
It's definitely an earnings tax, okay.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
I'll second.
Oh, I have found him to say more about it. Anyhow, because he could say more about it than I can. Okay, so that's one of the things that we started doing. We started building benches. And you can see the little blue benches. They're very pretty. They're comfortable. They can be stolen, unfortunately, even though we have them tethered down. And some of them have been stolen, but for the most part, they haven't been. And what the nice thing is that the bus company noticed that we were putting out benches. The city said we should have to pay to put them out. We said, no, we're not going to do that. This is our gift to the city. We're not going to pay to put them out. So they said, okay, well, you don't have to pay to put them out. And then the bus company said, okay, we're going to give you some benches. We're going to put out 75 new benches. Boom, and they have, and they're very nice. So we can't complain about that. What they could use, we could use a little more shelter over them because it's very hot in the summertime when the sun is blasting on you, and if it's raining, it's very wet.
Not to put too fine a point on it.
Yes. But at least we move them forward one step. We get a little bit of a step each time. One of the things we asked for downtown was a bus-only lane, and we're trying it in one place right now. It's on Main Street. It goes from Second, thank you. Second, no, it actually goes from 4th or 5th, whatever it is, up to, how far up does it go? I mean, I only get to ride it up to 8th Street.
I haven't seen
You
the
haven't
rest of it yet. It's there.
Well, it's only there, up to Liberty, okay. So it goes, the only bus, it gets the extreme right lane. Nobody gets to park there during like 2 to 3 hours in the morning, 2 to 3 hours in the late afternoon, so that the buses can get out of town in the morning and get to picking up people to bring them to work and stuff on time. Because otherwise there's a crunch of cars, everybody's in the way and they can't get out. So now they're running much more on time in the morning. And then they're doing the same thing in the evening to get people out, get people back home.
It's making a big difference.
Yes, it really is. And then what we're starting, I think we're starting a second one of those downtown, and then they're looking at the possibility of doing one here up there on Reading Road, and we'll see how that works. So we're working, it's one little step at a time, but we're making progress. So that's another one of the things that we're doing. A third thing we're pushing for very hard is to get bus riders on the SORTA board. Right now we happen to have one. The what?
No, not on the board.
There's one bus rider on the SORTA board, and he's a bus rider because he is in a wheelchair. And he's wonderful. It's Robert Harris. Many of you probably know him. He's the only one. What we really do need is other bus riders on that board. So we're pushing to say we need to have more people. So because they understand what the problems are. For example, I'll give you an example of one of the decisions made by the board that doesn't ride the bus. They had a man come in from Seattle, Washington, and look at all the routes, and they thought if they took out bus stops along those routes, that they could make the buses go faster. He doesn't live here. He doesn't take the bus here. He just looks at the map and says, that one could go, that one could go. Oh my God. So they took one away from, for example, I'll give you an example, 2 examples of what they took away. One bus in front of a senior center in Northside. Bam, we got on that one, put it right back. I mean, we didn't put it back, we made them put it right back. Then they took one out on where I live in East Walnut Hills, or in Walnut Hills, near the library and the laundromat. So you would have to walk an extra block to get to the library or the laundromat. I was like, no, leave it there. Yes?
They took one out of River Road.
Did you get them to put it back?
No, this is my friend who is like incensed.
Well,
He takes the bus all the time.
I'll tell you what to do.
Tell him what to do.
Tell them what to do. This is what they should do. What I did was I put together a petition, and I just wrote one paragraph about why it was important that it be there, and why it was why it had always been there, why we wanted it. And I think I got 75 people at a meeting to sign it, and then I took the bus downtown to the board meeting. I had another 30 people sign it, and I walked in and I said, I have a petition to put that bus stop back. And I gave it to the president. The president said, here, give it to me. Give it to me. And literally within 4 weeks we have it back. Yeah. So there is a way of getting it back. They don't, why would they hire someone from Seattle? He was a nice man. I met him. He was very, very nice. But he didn't know what he was doing. He did not know what he was doing. Had they asked us, the Better Bus Coalition has been all around the city talking to people, asking them what would improve the bus system for them. If they don't ride the bus, what would encourage them to ride the bus? Where would they? That kind of stuff. We've got the information. They don't ask us. They ask someone from Seattle. At any rate.
Maybe if you charge the big
let's see.
and give a donation to.
Good question. And what did he get paid for it? Yes. Okay. I don't know. Do you have anything more we should say?
No, obviously they got paid, but that figure did not come out.
No. Yeah. So do you have any questions about? Yes.
I have a question. The new signposts that you have, do they have a time schedule on it?
Oh no, that would be too easy. No, and they don't even have a destination schedule. I mean, they just have the number of the bus. If you're in Northern Kentucky, you see the number of the bus and the final destination. So you know if you're going north or south or east or west. You at least have a clue.
Well, to answer your question, what would encourage you to use the bus? That would encourage me. It is the one and only reason I do not use the bus.
I will tell them that.
It is absolutely ridiculous that a signpost does not say where you're going and what time you're going. Every country on the face of the earth has that.
You're exactly right. You're exactly right.
That is nuts. I mean, that is an advertisement. Do not use this bus system. It is. I'm not making a joke.
No, I agree with you. I totally agree with you. I mean, I've ended up getting on the wrong bus because of that. Because of the fact that we don't have it.
And I don't want to be told you can get a schedule on your cell phone. That is price discrimination. I can afford a cell phone. A lot of people can't.
Right.
And a lot of people cannot have their data plan on. They only use their cell phone for messages when there is a Wi-Fi available. A lot of the teenagers in particular do not utilize data plans.
Yes, yes. I agree with you.
Paper
Thank
schedules. Paper schedules.
Yeah. They spend so much money on those paper schedules.
Yes, have your stack ready.
If you get a chance, can you talk a little more about the bus route studies that Better Bus Coalition has done? They've done extensive work in figuring out how to make the system work better and so forth. And I'll also mention that another thing they have in other countries are RF radio frequency chips on all the buses that track where they are, when they're going to arrive, and how far they are from your stop. And then at the stops, they have a readout, a digital readout, that tells you the number 19 is going to be here in 3 minutes, and the number whatever, and you know whether you feel like walking or whether you feel like taking the bus or whatever.
Well, that's actually one of the reasons why we need more money, and we need to increase the budget, the money they have to spend on it, so they can upgrade the system that way. Yes, over here we have a question. Did I answer your question? No, I haven't answered your question. I don't remember the question.
Yeah, I'll bring it. I saw yours first.
I know, it's all right. I trumped you last time.
I was just responding to in other countries, because in other cities in the
yes.
U.S., they also have chips and you know when your bus is coming or
Exactly.
whatever.
We actually have them on a few of the buses here,
Right.
so that if you have the right app on your phone, it'll actually give you the exact time that they're coming.
But you don't need apps on,
But very-
they have it marked.
I grant you that, I agree.
And they're also covered, most of the.
Oh,
the
that would be
stops,
so
yeah.
nice.
And some are heated.
Hi Barb, thanks for being here. I have a question. If I want to get more involved or active in the Better Bus Coalition, where would I go on a Wednesday late afternoon?
Wednesday at 5:30, the downtown library. We meet generally on the third floor, and they have those little private meeting rooms. We always, you rent one.
And then a lot of people really appreciate what the BBC is doing as far as bus benches are going. And if I was so inclined and I wanted to donate to help you guys build a bus bench, do you have a Facebook page, or where would I go for that?
There is a Facebook page. I don't go to Facebook very much, so I can't even, I've never been to it. I'm bad.
Yeah.
You know it.
Yeah, if you look up Better Bus Coalition, you'll find all the information there. More importantly, please like the page and share it in your feeds.
Yeah, and you're welcome to donate money. For sure, and I think what we're asking people for is what, how much per bench?
I don't know, but the membership itself is like $2, so that, you know.
Yeah, $2 a year to be a member of Better Bus Coalition. We're really expensive.
Has there been an opportunity of the Better Bus Commission meeting with the county commissioners to talk about whether there's some way to make a sales tax countywide or something like that?
It's not worked, yes. We've met with them. We've met with most of the city council members, most of the county commissioners. You have to understand, Cam Hardy, who I am not actually Cam Hardy, I'm just being Cam Hardy today. He meets with everyone. I don't know how he does it. Well, he's young. He has tons of energy and he doesn't stop ever. But that's the amazing thing. This group is made up of mostly, you're seeing more of the older people here. I'm the oldest one involved. They're not as old as I am. But the guys that are doing a lot of the legwork are very young and they're really smart.
They're sharp, yeah.
Whoa! They knocked my socks off. You were asking about the putting together maps of where we should go. What they're aiming for is a lot more cross-county lines, because most people have to go, if they want to go from here to here, they have to go downtown, back out, and it's a real pain in the neck. So we're trying to get more cross-county lines so people can get places faster. Yeah. Yes?
Someone here was here before that mentioned the earnings tax, and the business community is trying to change the amount that they pay. I remember hearing some conflict with the business community. They weren't on board because don't we have one of the lowest earnings taxes in the state?
I think so, and if I'm not mistaken, they're trying to get rid of it.
And the business community wants to get rid of it.
Yeah. That's my
And even though that makes no sense, but they have all this power because, you know, they have money to support candidates. So where do they stand? Have you had any luck getting through to them that the earnings tax is like a civic responsibility that maybe they should step up to?
That's under the category, I believe, of that would be nice, but.
That's a good one. Yes. Yes, we've spent some time talking to the Hamlet County, and they're talking about maybe considering a sales tax. Well, I don't like the idea of a sales tax. It's very stiff on the lower income people. And they have to take the buses, just like doubling their bus fares, if you will. I really think the earnings tax is much more sensible.
Yeah, you began by mentioning the experience of Europe. I was in Zagreb. The total population of the country is 6 million, but in their capital city they have a tremendous trolley system and trolleys that are actually made in their country. So, I mean, I understand focusing on buses may be realistic given the absolute lack of imagination of Cincinnati planners. We had a presentation here by Michael Burrell, who just passed last week, who was pointing out that you could set up a system for, again, cross-county lines of trolleys, and over time have the businesses that are on that line be the ones who actually pay for it.
That would be it. That would be it.
Well, he has a great website. I wish people who care about transportation would pay more attention, because he lays it out very, very powerfully. But again, it seems like we get more and more locked into buses, which are much more polluting.
Yeah, that's true. Yes? What is that guy's name? Can you give me his name?
If you give me your email, I'll send you all the stuff. I haven't even get your email.
I put it on the, no I didn't. Ready? Okay, everybody, here's my email. Oh, Cam Marty, oh, this is, here's Cam Marty's email.
Keep it.
Okay.
Bless you.
And just so you know, here it is. If you call me and I don't know your number, I don't answer the phone. This morning. I get 7,000.
Does it look like that?
robocalls a day, yes.
Thanks so much for coming, because transportation is a very big love of mine, the issues regarding it. I just saw a PBS special about an item about a town in Portugal that totally banned cars from the city, from inside the town. And the mayor did it, and the businesses were all upset, and 3,000 of the businesses demonstrated. Guess what? It didn't make a difference. And the people love it, and there's more community, and the cars have to park outside the town. And if we did everything that we could to get rid of cars, then we could have more buses. That's my idea. That's all. Thank you.
I think you're right.
Bus stops.
Oh, okay. Does anybody else have a question? Here we go.
So with this tax increase, would we be able to have routes that didn't just come into town? I mean, we'd have cross routes.
That's what we're
That's what would it be sufficient to help people get to jobs outside, like
we need
all of those jobs in Hebron?
One of the problems is when you get way outside of Hamilton County, we need money from those counties as well to make that work. That's one of the tricks of all of this, which is really.
So if you got to the river,
the last number is 2.
You're on your own.
I have another question. I think a year ago we had a speaker in that was talking about the bus system, and Dot raised the question, wouldn't it make sense to have some smaller buses that could go to some areas? And he responded to that in a way that put the cart before the horse, in my opinion. He said that that could not be done because there had been improvements made to the repair stations for the buses, and they were of a size that only a large bus could drive over them and be worked on. Well, obviously, workstations that work on buses should be created for the buses, not the other way around. And that really didn't make any sense. And I just witnessed in a city that I visited that they have gone to these buses that are like a quarter of the size of ours, and I'll tell you, they are moving all over the city. It has dramatically increased the participation in the bus system in an area that's both urban and rural in Bay City, Michigan, which is amazing because buses never work there. And this, by going smaller, they had a huge increase in participation. So I was wondering, is there any movement towards increasing some smaller buses?
I've not heard anyone talk about that except for you. And I think it's a good idea.
It would make so much sense.
Actually, years ago I thought if you have a small bus go in areas out in the end of the bus line, collect people, take them to the bus line, let them then ride down. That would be really useful. Or other places where the bus isn't going, get a small bus to run around in there would be really helpful.
Well, my response to that is the biggest cost is salary of the driver. It's not really the size of the bus. I don't think that's the issue. It's how many more salaries are you able to support, and it makes a lot of sense. But would the earnings tax increase support that? Is my
This first stage, I don't think is big enough to support that. I think it's going to take a larger donation, maybe from the federal government.
Yeah, I just wanted to add in a lot of the questions you can find the answers to on the Better Bus Coalition's website. It is betterbuscoalition.org, all one word, betterbuscoalition.org. There you'll find all the work that Barb and Cam and Mark and everybody have done over the last couple of years, which in particular has to do with routing as well. Proposing some of these new crosstown routes that were mentioned. Something that's important in my community on the east side is looking at circular routes. I'm not necessarily as concerned about connecting to my job because unfortunately I drive a lot. But what I would like is public transportation that can take me from a Oakley to a Pleasant Ridge, or from an Oakley to a Mount Washington, or to another neighborhood business district that circulates. And a lot of people feel that it's important that we not only support the infrastructure and the buses that we have, but we also increase ridership. So it's really important to get the word out. And again, if you can go visit, whether it's social media or the website, sign up for the newsletter, and you'll get all this information quickly. Thanks.
Yes. And by the way, I am going to tell them that they would get some more riders if they had the bus scheduled there at the bus stop. Yeah.
What really needs to happen is for us to join the 21st century and use computers to create a much more flexible routing system so that we serve the populations where the populations are. One of the problems with trolleys is that it's a fixed line and the population has to go where the trolley is, and the trolley can't move to where the populations move to. There's benefits to that. I mean, it creates a lot of investment along the trolley lines, and it can be useful. I mean, the streetcar system we have here is not really a transportation system. It's a
driver of economic development.
Yeah, it's a tourist trip.
Well, I wasn't going to be that negative as any of those comments, but it's a way of generating development and investment. You build a trolley line, and if you build it, they will come. It's that kind of thing. And so that's the main purpose. Is until it starts to go up the hill to Uptown, it's not really a useful transportation vehicle. But that's the fault of the previous governor who took away the $100 million that was supposed to make it go uptown. So flexibility is really going to be the key. We're going to need transportation services that are flexible enough to keep changing and keep meeting our needs. And that takes a lot of figuring out. And we haven't been real good about seeing how other countries and cities have figured that stuff out. We always have to sort of reinvent the wheel.
Well, we keep asking other people from other cities to come here and tell us what to do. Well, which is like not helpful, I don't think, ultimately.
It can be. I mean, the reason we picked Seattle is they have a very effective multimodal transportation system, and we wanted to learn from that. And it's not a bad idea to learn. But if the people who come here can't also learn what our needs are, that's a problem.
Yeah. Other questions or comments? I'm happy to take comments. Yes.
Just a comment about trolleys. If you look up at the view of the skyline, that's a lot of pollution too. All those wires and things, and all the tracks on the streets, I don't think that they're very beautiful. If it's a little circle in downtown, I guess it's okay, but we have so many wires for television and all that stuff up there. I don't think adding more wires is a beautification of our city.
Well, and of course, we used to have a very good trolley system. And unfortunately, they took it apart, and then as they were building this one, they tore out the old rails. It's like, what?
To that point, our sister city in France, Nancy, has a streetcar system that preceded ours slightly, and it's a very interesting one. It's a single rail streetcar, and so it does the job of creating investment along the line. But if there's an accident in front of it, it can actually pull up the claw or whatever it is that follows that rail, and it has tires, and it can go on the streets and go around the accident. So it can be very flexible, and it's completely electrically battery driven. They get charged up at night, so there's no overhead wires. And it was a system I wrote to the city when they were talking about a streetcar and said, take a look at that and think about doing it. And, you know, they didn't.
Ours are, I think, I agree with you.
There are ways of making things beautiful and still useful. For example, in California, the cell phone towers in the mountains look like lodgepole pines, and the cell phone towers in the desert look like palm trees. And you can only tell the difference when you get right up on them. That's all.
Thank you. I noticed that when I was there a few weeks ago, and I thought, what?
And they don't have therefore standing right together.
Yeah.
Yeah, specifically talking about what trolley scenes that used to be, in Patterson, New Jersey, where I grew up, there were trolleys right at the corner of the street, and we were told when they tore up the rails that was needed for World War II to fight the Nazis, but in fact, it was a conscious conspiracy of the auto and gas companies that there would be no public transportation after World War II. It was a very well organized conspiracy. It's exactly the same people who took over the city council of Los Angeles and guaranteed that it'd be the most polluted city in the world.
Thank you.
There's actually a film about that was made by a young student from Ohio somewhere.
Hi, I've got a couple questions for you.
Okay.
And I'm probably going to get booed out of this place, but...
Lift the microphone up like that, yeah.
But for over a decade, I worked for Metro.
Yes.
Okay, so I was in the business office. And I'm wondering if you are working with the Metro employees to come up with some of the solutions to the problems you're describing, or if you're going just to upper management. Do you give...
No, when I asked to have my bus stop back, I met with 2 employees who then took the information back, and I'm going to be meeting with them again. We're going to start a movement.
What level of employees are we talking about? Are we talking about the planning department, or?
Might be. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I checked to see who that was that you were working with, and head to the planning department, which can actually do something to help you.
Thank you.
And also the people over at the bus stations, over at Queensgate, they've got a lot of power. And so that may be somebody you need to talk to too, is one of the people that's, I don't know what they're calling them now, but there's usually 1 or 2 people that really is high up in the organization that's over there at Queensgate. Something else I was thinking about was the trolleys.
Yes.
Now, are you guys involved with the trolleys?
No.
Or
we're strictly the bus.
You're strictly the bus, you have no interest in doing anything with the...
No.
And are you also working with access?
Yes.
Yeah, to a degree, yes.
And so how's access working out for you?
Pardon me, I don't think we have we had any discussions about the access buses? Because they're part of the bus system.
Yeah, so I'll share a couple things. One is that Cam and Mark and Barb and others frequently not only attend the regular sorta meetings, but they also have engagement opportunities. One of the reasons Barb had mentioned that it's really important that we have board members that actually ride the bus, because one of the benefits, as Barb and Cam can tell you, is when you're on a bus, you can talk to the bus driver. And that's right there is the first interaction in customer service. And then they also do talk to the maintenance crews, and they've talked to various other departments. Access in particular has caused a lot of people to come out and support the BBC, because it is, if people aren't familiar with them, my wife's disabled, so she used to use it, but it became so inconvenient for her, and she has a time window that she can't be out of the house for too long. So if it takes 2 hours to get her somewhere, and then it takes 2 hours before she can then get the bus to return, that's entirely too long for her to be out of the house. And then the second component of access that the BBC has helped try and change is that there was a very limited opportunity to actually get your access card, which is going to their site, which is hard for a lot of people who aren't mobile. And so the BBC has been very active in trying to increase the opportunity for those who have some extended obstacles to be able to ride the bus. So access needs to be improved, and hopefully it will be.
Okay, as far as access, have you been talking
Like a rock star, right?
Have you been talking to Mary Monning or Lisa Olick?
I don't know the particulars, but I will.
Okay, take down those names though.
Those are the heads of access.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm sure that if they get the information, they'll help you with what problems you have. But if everything is hitting at one level and maybe the operators do not feel free to give information to management and thinks maybe management won't do anything. But if you start really pushing the buttons, I'm thinking that possibly you could get somewhere. And someone that I think would be really helpful to talk to is a person by the name of Daryl Haley.
Yes, in fact, that's who I was in touch with about the bus stop, Daryl Haley. I'm glad you said his name.
Yeah.
I'm not remembering it.
I would think that he would do well by you.
Yes.
He's really a good guy.
Yes. Who are the two access people you mentioned?
Lisa Olick and Mary Monning.
Mary
Monning.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And we didn't boo you. Did you notice that? No one booed you? Okay, are we finished, or do you have other questions? One more.
Could you tell us a little more about what funds the bus coalition, whether you're an independent entity, autonomous, exactly what you are?
Yes, I don't know if you could hear him. He asked about what our funding. Are we an independent entity? And yes, we are. We actually got a grant recently. Whoa, from someplace in New York. Yes, and we've had lots of donations just from individuals, and we've tried to raise money from individuals. So we were able to. Oh, we don't have very much money, but we have a little bit, and we're having kind of fun playing with it. And that's where the bench money. A lot of the money goes to the benches, etc.
501c3? Is that what you are?
We're more than we're slightly different. We're a 501c4, I think it is.
Not-for-profit corporation.
Yeah, but we can do political stuff. Yeah. Yes. Thus this. Yeah. Okay. Does that answer your question? Okay. But yeah, no, the city is not giving us money, the bus company is not giving us money, no one else like that is giving us money. And are you done? Am I done? Should I take
Barb, you're terrific. You are terrific. Barb, thank you for filling in today. Thank you so much. And I have to tell you, I thought that this microphone actually worked.
They have to make them.
Did you notice all the two-handed action she has?
Yes.
But everybody want to do it.
Thank you for signing the petition. Thank you very much.
I know.
You want this back to that?
Yeah. Okay. Barbara Way, you did a terrific job. Thank you so much for coming today. That was really great. For next week, we have Love Must Win. Love Must Win with the executive director coming to us named Ryan Allen. I am not familiar with Love Must Win, but I think I'm going to learn. So I personally will be here, and we are continually moving forward as an organization, and we'll make it as interesting as we can. Thank you so much for coming. Today, Love Must Win. I hope we made it as meaningful to you as it might have been if you had gone to the other abortion clinic that so many people went to today. Thank you so much for coming. You are a great audience.